a legend of one man who persuaded his friends to watch every Godzilla movie ever made. This world is on the brink of destruction. We need you now, Godzillavangelists! Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, produced and hosted by Ryan Sargent, featuring Sam Schlenker and Joanna Brodecki. So Sam, Joanna, I have a tragic story to tell today.
Remember when Godzilla died and Sam and I were not as emotional about it as anticipated?
I do remember that.
Okay. I hope this one is sad and that we bring the emotional sadness that you desire when you tell us what's going on,
yes,
Ryan.
Because this is a real life story this time.
Okay.
No, it's not that bad. So, as you can probably tell from starting this podcast, we're talking about Godzilla 2000 today. And you may notice, scientifically, that 2000 is 7 years after 1993. So I was in the prime of my Godzilla fandom when this movie came out. I was imaginative. I was naive. I would have loved this movie. And so I started seeing the trailers and newspaper advertisements. And I asked my mom if we could go see it. And she was like, it's rated PG-13. I don't know if you can see this movie. And I was like, I really want to, though. It's a Godzilla movie. She said, also, the review in the Washington Post was really bad.
Awesome.
Mom knows what's up.
What I should have said was like, of course it's bad. You would give it a bad review, Mom. I'm going to love this. But as a child, I was like, oh no, the adults, they think it's bad.
Ryan's like, not the Washington Post.
Yeah. It's just not a good idea for me to go see this movie. And so I missed out on my chance to see a Godzilla movie in a theater.
You still haven't seen one, right?
No, I have, fortunately. We have a happy ending. Shin Godzilla got enough of a release that I saw that, and then The Egyptian showed a bunch of of the 60s and 70s movies on 35mm, and that was awesome. I went out to see that even though I had a terrible cold. I was not going to miss it. But the dagger in the heart of this story is I eventually looked up this review. It's by a guy named Stephen Hunter. And let me just read you some excerpts from this review. Some borderline racist excerpts.
Oh boy.
This one was directed by old-time Godzilla pro Takao Okawara, who proves he hasn't learned a thing over the years. About the only signs of intelligence in this movie are occasional images cribbed from Independence Day. And then at the end of it, he says, contains violence to Tonka toys and popsicle stick cities. So this is pretty much the most dismissive, smug review of all time. And if you think I'm just being biased, while I was doing some research, I came across this article that somebody did for Vulture back in the day. They're a fellow critic, and they say, when Stephen Hunter was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Criticism in 2003, everyone we know who has ever lived in Washington was flabbergasted, because Stephen Hunter is not a good movie critic. And any given week, you can pluck his review out of the Post and be assured it will be absurdly overwritten, hemmed into his limited aesthetic purview, and quite frequently totally wrong. And that's what's most galling about Hunter's continued employment And that's why we'll never stop calling him Pulitzer Prize winner Stephen Hunter. As with all great national tragedies, if we do not remember, we risk repeating our shame.
Wait, what has this writer got against that guy, man? That sounds like some personal vendetta there.
Well, Ryan, my question to you is, was he really wrong?
Right.
He may have been right to write a negative review, but I will still call those the wrong reasons. He sounds like a schmuck.
What's his name again?
Stephen Hunter.
I just want to get a visual on the guy.
Okay. So again, today we were talking about Godzilla 2000, aka Godzilla 1999 Millennium.
Oh,
in
fun.
Japan.
Pew, 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 pew.
Da-na-na.
It's Y2K, and Godzilla has been reinvented for the 21st century. As you could probably tell by now.
Were you the villain there? Deep-voiced villain, dub. Just
Yes.
most default villain voice.
I'm going to blow up this tower with a child inside.
With one man inside. Did you guys also celebrate Y2K with a matching American Girl doll dress? Like your dress matched the doll, and some gallons of water in the basement in case anything happened?
No, I can't say I did.
Wow, well, y'all were missing out. We knew what's up in Chicago.
That's amazing. Well, Godzilla 2000 was a direct reaction to the 1998 TriStar Godzilla. A lot of fans were displeased, especially in Japan, and so Toho felt an obligation to revive their series. And as you can tell by the Japanese title, it actually came out the very next year there. So, like,
That was quick.
Godzilla 98 comes out and they're like, immediately, nope, we gotta do something about this.
I've never seen Hollywood move so fast. Or outside of Hollywood. Any movie studio.
Yeah, they work quick in Japan. I mean, if you look closely at this movie, there may be some signs that it's a little bit rushed. If you look carefully.
Nah. I don't think so, Ryan.
And this part of the story, there's been some debate about how true it is, but I'll go ahead and tell it like it's true. Because I thought it was. I still think it is. Somebody tell me if you have conclusive proof this is true or false. Toho decided that the next few Godzilla movies would all be made by different creative teams with different approaches. And then whichever of them was going to be judged to be the most successful would determine the direction for the rest of this series in the 2000s. And so, first up to bat, we have Takao Okawara, who directed 3 of the last 4 movies in the 90s. And he was committed to a relatively down-to-earth science fiction approach that would explore, or attempt to explore, what made Godzilla unique. And he wanted to use a lot of modern digital techniques in the special effects.
Modern for the time.
Yes.
Maybe less so now.
Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Godzilla producer Shogo Tomiyama recruited the screenwriters of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, good movie, and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, bad movie, to pen the script. And the effects team rendered a Godzilla that would be reminiscent of the classic designs, but also stand out as new and shocking with brighter colors and sharper edges.
He was pretty sharp.
Yeah, this was pointy Godzilla.
Very
this
sharp
is the
guy.
sharpest Godzilla.
Yeah.
And this is sort of a tangent, but I found this when I was researching. This is from an article. Offering the ground-level Japanese perspective are 2 women in their late 20s from the city of Kumamoto on the southern Japanese island of Kyushu. Both have watched Godzilla movies from earliest childhood. Godzilla is not a dinosaur, states department store sales clerk Tomomi Akiyama. He is a kaiju, and kaiju are not realistic, but fantasy, like unicorns or dragons. Continues Akiyama's friend, Kaori Shimamoto. Godzilla's personality is sort of like the neighborhood oyaji, middle-aged man, who's friendly and grumpy at the same time. Godzilla kicks down Tokyo over and over again in the same way that an Oyaji kicks down a low table if he's in a bad mood. It's kind of like Bunraku, concludes Akiyama. We see the puppeteers, but that only increases our enjoyment of it.
I like that.
Yeah,
that was very precious. Yeah.
I think that's very telling.
Was that unprompted? An unprompted quote. Just walking through and someone just starts telling you this and you're just like, I can't leave.
And kind of surprisingly, for a movie that was kind of meant to stick it to TriStar, executives at TriStar took interest in Godzilla 2000. Because even though the 98 Godzilla has like a reputation as a bomb, it actually made quite a bit of money. It made almost 3 times as much as it cost. And Godzilla 2000 did well at the Japanese box office, and it would be cheap for them to acquire. So they were like, let's pick it up for theatrical distribution. Believe it or not, this late in the game, we're still seeing major changes to this movie. A guy named Michael Schlesinger produced the American version, and he attempted to be respectful by hiring Asian American voice actors and running all his changes by Toho and the director. On the other hand, he did good dub the movie in a way that was meant to call back to the campy and goofy 60s and 70s, allegedly so the American audience would let their guard down. Did this dub make you guys let your guard down?
The dub made me a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Mainly because when I went to rent the movie, it said camp under it. And I went, fun. Yes, let's go. And then really there were like a few lines where they were like, well, we're going to be campy. But there was no real camp involved in the setup and execution of the film. So it was a little bit of a letdown. But so if we hadn't watched the dub version, I mean, it's always less obnoxious, but it would have been more serious in tone probably through.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's still jokes in it, as you can see. But yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't mesh with the tone of the movie itself very well.
No, not at all. Like there's no young dudes on an island racing around in a car. You know, there's no like silliness in the setup of it.
Yeah.
If there isn't an island involved and Scooby-Doo vibes, Joanna is out.
Bye.
There is a little kid in it, though.
Oh, I know, but a kid who is being, negligent parents letting her into danger in a way that is unreal.
And Ryan, is she a child? And I think she's actually 27. So she wasn't wearing a backpack. She wasn't running around hitting a fence with a stick. Like, that's the kind of child behavior I want to see in my movies.
Yeah. Joanna has child blindness where the only way, like, she can't tell if someone's a child unless they are wearing either a backpack or a matching American Girl doll outfit in the basement with water.
That's right. That's very accurate.
So Schlesinger cut about 8 minutes from the movie, mostly small trims for pacing, but also removing a couple scenes of character development and scenes adding more detail to the aliens' motivations.
Who needs that?
He also added or changed several sound effects and had composer J. Peter Robinson create additional music so the audio would feel more cinematic from a U.S. perspective.
Do you know which sound effects he changed?
I know the big one is he changed a lot of the Orga sounds, the evil monster at the end. He gave it a lot of like low growls and hisses, whereas in the Japanese version it has more of the kaiju sound that you all know and love. It sounds screechy, like you all call all of them. But he also added more roars to Godzilla, including some taken from the 98 Godzilla.
Heard those ones.
More like explosion and crashing into each other sounds during the fight. A lot of it is at the very end. Mm-hmm. And for all their work, the movie did okay at the US box office, making TriStar a small profit, but definitely not enough that they were interested in bringing any more Toho Godzilla movies to US theaters. That was the first time since Godzilla 1985 that a Godzilla Toho movie had gotten a wide theatrical release, and arguably the last time to date, although Shin Godzilla did make it to a lot of cities. But yeah, that's the history of this little speed bump going into the 2000s.
A little speed bump. That feels accurate.
Now, I was about to say I'm sensing a little negativity toward this movie, and I've provided some of it, but I didn't actually hate it that much. I'll defend bits and pieces of this.
Somebody needs to.
Okay, good. Look, this yet again, I have to defend Godzilla from your criticisms and your cruelty, and I'll do my best. But yeah, I liked. Boy, I'm not. You're not going to get like a full-hearted defense of it, but I liked things about it. So yeah, not all bad.
I had some shots in it that I liked.
well, okay. So on that note, especially early, because I think it started pretty well. Early, I was shocked to learn that this was the same director as Destroya, because genuinely there were shots in this I kind of liked, or like moments, like little like moments where it was like, oh, that part where they're reversing through the tunnel and the foot breaks through, like that's really good. That's like a true, let's make a kaiju movie and have a moment that we can digest and go, oh, humans are in some way experiencing monsters, that this is a new way of doing it. Compared to Destroya, where there were, for me, absolutely none of those, with maybe the exception of him getting frozen at the very end. There were 0 times I felt that, and there were probably 6 or 7 in this that I went, oh yeah, that's a moment, that's cool. Like so yes, Joanna, there were some good shots in this, and I will. That's why I liked this more than Destroya.
Well, before we get any deeper, shall we do the synopses?
Hell yeah.
Yuji Shinoda and his daughter Io run a fly-by-night operation called the Godzilla Prediction Network, designed to gather enough data on Godzilla that he can be avoided and contained. They work reluctantly with reporter Yuki Ichinose, who's looking to break into hard news using Godzilla as material.
I'm an imbecile!
Don't flash the camera, you're too close. Oh no, now we're gonna die.
The Godzilla Prediction Network has a larger, government-supported version that uses violent methods called Crisis Control Intelligence.
I'm the head of the CCI. I can't get as low as he can.
But he's only 30.
33, Ryan. Come on, those 3 extra years gave him that leg up. Why was he only 30? Anyways, we could get to that later.
Wait, that's how old I am.
Yeah.
Am I the villain?
You are the head of CCI.
You're the villain.
Blow up the kid.
Anyway, Shinoda split with CCI's Katagiri and Miyasaka over a dispute over methods years ago, but they remain in touch. CCI finds an unusual gigantic stone within an underwater trench and raises it to the surface.
Ooh.
It begins behaving unusually, apparently reacting to sources of energy. Meanwhile, Katagiri plans to use piercing missiles to kill the attacking Godzilla, but they fail. During the battle, the stone flies into the air and is revealed to be a UFO with a fascination for Godzilla.
I can't do a UFO sound. I don't know why it didn't come to me fast enough.
I knew there would be one.
Like, is that it? I don't know.
Sure.
Does it make a sound in this?
It does, yeah.
It spins. And the spinning of a UFO creates wind, and then, that creates a sound. Right. Yeah.
Godzilla damages the UFO and returns to the ocean. In the aftermath, Shinoda studies a Godzilla skin sample and discovers that the giant monster is so resilient because its healing factor allows it to recover from injuries very easily. The UFO steals this data along with all other government files on Godzilla from Tokyo Opera City Tower. CCI uses explosives to disrupt the UFO, nearly killing Shinoda, who is inside the tower attempting to learn more about the aliens and Godzilla. Godzilla arrives, again battling the UFO, which saps DNA from Godzilla and creates an imperfect clone, Orga.
Pretty cool looking dude.
Orga fights with Godzilla, attempting to absorb more DNA and perfect its cloning. But Godzilla destroys Orga from the inside using his nuclear breath.
Crazy scene. Wild.
The humans are left wondering how to deal with this protective yet destructive monster.
That's the end.
It's monster. So first question out the gate for you, Ryan, is this more of a reboot where we're just pretending that the last run and Godzilla's death didn't happen, or is his skin cells regenerate? Is that just a kind of sneaky little ISB? No, he wasn't going to die.
No, this is another reboot. I forgot to mention this going in. So this one and the next 3 are all reboots that only count the original Godzilla. It gets a little fuzzy, but basically they're all their own realities.
So you're telling me I didn't need to watch the 40 films in between?
Yes, it was all leading up to this.
I'm here for that. I'm here for that because I think that it's often a big mistake to be beholden to some kind of greater thread. Like if you just have a giant monster stomping on people, just make your own rules every time and try to make the best movie you can. I mean, did they? Question mark. But
and by make your own rules, we mean rinse and repeat. Still basically a million of the same elements, but totally. Make your own rules.
Call it an homage.
Before we get into the characters, I have to share this with you guys. And warning to our audience, I know we're always not safe for work, but what I'm about to say is extremely not safe for work, so send your kid out of the room if they're listening.
Wait, what could this possibly be?
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm nervous.
So I was looking up the actors to see what else they might have been in, and I discovered something disturbing. So someone was recently in a movie entitled, "If My Stepson Cream Pies Me, I Clean Him Off with a Blowjob, Get Him Hard, and Stick Him in Me Again Until His Balls Are Empty. What? Endless Fake Cess Mayu Suzuki."
That is not real.
Wait,
that
hang
is
on.
Real.
That's all one title?
Yeah, that's the title.
And this is a cast member from this movie?
Possibly. I had trouble confirming that, which is thankful, honestly. But that's the same name. Do you want to guess what character that is?
No, I don't want to guess.
I don't.
No, I'm not going to guess.
Hold on, I will throw out a guess. Was it the villain who talked like this?
If it's anyone but him, I don't want to know. I don't want to know who it is. And I think this is a fake out, and it's someone else. It's 2 people with the same name, both starring on the silver screen.
Okay, was it the monster at the end who has a snake jaw?
I mean, Orga would be well prepared for that.
Orga may do at least some of those things.
It's not off the table.
Now, Ryan, here's my question, though. If it's not on IMDb, I don't believe it, So unless it's showing up on their IMDb page, I think you got the wrong name.
You know what? I think you're probably right, because if they did turn to this late in life, they probably would have changed their name. I think you're right. Anyway, any more wholesome thoughts on the characters in this movie?
More wholesome than that? I don't think so.
I did. Well, I guess we'll get into it with the characters, so I'll hold. Sam, you could go first.
No, I mean, I think that for me, even relative to this series, the characters, I think, in this one were especially weak. So I think that generally all the human stuff in this was pretty unremarkable.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything to say. I guess the relationship between the three men was interesting. It was like, what caused your breakup? What, you guys used to be so close.
Yeah, except
there's such tension.
Except that, like, if the villain is that, like, absurdly and mustache twirlingly evil, like, that kind of breaks it. Like,
yeah,
it's not
At
like
only 33. He hasn't even been that hardened by time yet. Like,
Wait,
what the fuck could have happened in his? He's 33.
I
think 33.
Okay, I heard 30. I don't know, because that was funny. But no, I mean, like, if it was like he's a sympathetic, they've had a schism in terms of how much force is needed to deal with these kaiju, but there's like a shred of empathy he has, then sure, it's kind of interesting. I mean, you could do a lot more with it than they did, but like instead, I mean, they're like, hey, you're gonna kill your old friend and also his daughter, and he's like, damn it, I have to also pay for flowers for the funeral? Fire away. Like, it doesn't work, guys.
They could have pulled a Disney and just, like, had him have a parent that got killed by Godzilla or whatever.
Right,
you know?
it's the easiest thing. Just like a shred of thing.
Fruit.
Yeah. To say, his parents died in a Godzilla attack.
But a great voice dub, honestly.
It is, honestly.
I thought the dad gave me vibes of like a mid-level, kind of tired UCB comedian, and so I appreciated that. I was like, I've seen this guy before. He's here. Good for him. He got the part. He's making his career moves. Love it.
Yeah, we've been in classes with this guy.
Yeah, he was a teacher. He was an improv teacher for sure.
It's Andy Secunda.
The reporter lady, I don't know. Maybe it was the dubbing. There was like nothing really.
Yeah, you may have noticed in my synopsis that after her introduction, she had no importance on the rest of the story.
Nothing.
And yeah, that's exactly true to the movie.
But I did love the whiny dub of, I thought I'd do hard news if I got this photo. This is very silly.
I would say she technically also tries to get info off a computer in a building that's supposed to explode, which is also, none of their actions make any sense to me there. There's just no world where any even slightly rational person is like, you know what? I will risk getting blown up to find info. There's nothing there. It's not like they're trying to actively do anything. It's like, we must learn more right now. Let's bring my daughter into this building that is, I'm literally being told repeatedly, don't go in because we're going to blow it up. But here, come on, little girl. Like, crazy.
Did I miss her arc? Like, when did she go from being, like, annoying to, like, having the tech savvy to, like, look at this computer and save the world? Did I just miss it? It seemed like it happened so fast.
It shows how little we think of her that you refer to, does she have the tech savvy to look at this computer?
Well, she is a self-proclaimed imbecile.
Yeah, right.
I think I just missed something.
Well, I think she just reclaimed that. Because the little girl called her that, and then she reclaimed it to have the power herself.
That's true.
I mean, to be fair, she did think that all plasma referred to blood plasma, which is a fairly stupid thing for an adult woman in the late 90s to say.
I guess. It's a very specific way of being stupid. I'm only an idiot in regards to plasma. And in regards to states of matter. I'm a states of matter idiot.
I thought her car turn was very satisfying, though. With the corny music building, I was emotionally satisfied by that moment.
That was a good bit. Yeah, speaking of which, with Io, I'm sure she's supposed to be cute and funny, but all I can think about is how children who go through trauma and don't have the proper support, like, go through this kind of adultification where they have to start taking care of their parents and like running their own lives when they're like babies. So I was like, I won't go so far to say it's disturbing, but it reminded me of disturbing things.
Yeah, when she was like cooking dinner and stuff, I felt bad for her. She was smart, great, smart little girl character, but yeah.
Yeah, not one of the better Toho little girls or little children, I would just say. She's definitely like a C-level child.
Definitely not one of the better parents.
No, and not even a bad parent in the way that the movie's like, this is a bad parent, watch this parent be bad. This was like, there's nothing wrong with this. That, it's like the movie is negligent on behalf of the child.
I do have somewhat more of an explanation of what was going on with the tower scene. I'll go ahead and talk about the biggest change in the Japanese version, which is the stuff revolving around the aliens. So in the Japanese version, they're called Millenniums because they've waited 2,000 years to conquer Earth in some kind of like Y2K parallel.
Love it.
And in the scene where Shinoda is escaping the tower, the reason like he's cut so close is because he starts seeing messages on all like the computer screens from the aliens.
Why did they cut that? That's so fun.
I know. And then after that, they start broadcasting like hostile messages through all the screens and street signs and stuff in Tokyo. And it makes it clear that the physical bodies of the Millenniums are degenerating, and that's why they want the Godzilla DNA to restore themselves.
Seems fairly important.
Yeah.
This seems like a big plot point.
So when that weird octopus Martian alien comes out of the UFO at the end, that's meant to be them attempting to recover their bodies, but they don't have enough Godzilla DNA, so they degenerate into this mutant thing, which is Orga.
Like Voldemort.
Yeah. So it's a cool idea. I don't really know why all that was cut out.
I'm still hung up on the fact that the reason this was called Godzilla 2000 is supposedly not that it's almost the year 2000 and we're trying to market that, but that supposedly these aliens have been hiding for 2,000 years. I want to take them to task for some of these titles, because it's like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 all over again. Where it's just that, it's like, it's not Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2. It's that, in a way, isn't this the second Mechagodzilla he's fought? Because it's the third movie. You see what I'm saying? Like, so it's the same thing. It's like, this is Godzilla 2000. Oh, because we're about to hit the year 2000 and everyone's talking about that in our world? No. Because these aliens have been hiding for 2,000 years? Which also, okay, were they hiding from Jesus?
Yeah, actually, I consulted my mother and they were. So now you know.
Like, what? It is interesting, isn't it? It makes me think, why did they go into hiding in the first place?
Religious persecution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were like, we're gonna take over with the Romans, but then one man really started to provide a certain kind of moral resistance to the Roman Empire. He didn't, though, so I don't know. This is a bad riff. I'm gonna back out.
It's all good, but yeah, it's that is a mystery of why were they in hiding for 2,000 years?
Okay, it's also like, if they cut those moments out and all they cut was 8 minutes, like 8 minutes, like kind of, but that's not that much, you know? They could have just kept it in there to keep the plot steady.
Yeah.
See, if this had come out in America 1.5 years later, they would have had to cut out that entire tower sequence, because in a post 9/11 world, that's a big no-no.
That's true.
I was thinking that same thing. I was like, when did 1990. Yeah, no, they would have had to.
There's a in Lilo and Stitch, which I want to say is like 2002.
Oh, yeah.
There's a spaceship chase at the end, and they had to like as they were very far, like nearly finished with the movie, they had to like reconceive a big chunk of the spaceship chase because it was like, or maybe it was a plane. I think it was a plane. I think that somehow they get in the plane. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think that they crash into a building, like just kind of like, oh, to in a movie way, like, oh, we hit that building, and they had to completely reconceive that whole thing.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing.
Yeah,
for all you Lilo and Stitch fans out there.
While we're on it, they also made a mess of the Jumbo fight because they didn't want it to look dangerous. That's such a weird period where those first couple of years after 9/11, everyone was so sensitive about, especially with children, making things look dangerous and frightening. And so they took out like a bunch of stuff from that fight. Anyway, this movie. Let's talk about Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, perfect. Were there any other character? Like, I did like the little girl. She had fun hairdo at the end. So that was good.
She had some nice pigtails.
Mm-hmm. She was cute, but yeah, it was just a little sad, her story. And I kind of wish if they had set her up for being this girl genius, that she had been a part of like solving the plot at the very end. But it was kind of more, again, the reporter and her dad. So I feel like it didn't pay off as it could have.
Right. Well, she runs the business side of the Godzilla Production Network.
That's true. A steep fee to join that club.
Yeah. What did she say? 200,000 yen? So that's like $200 and then $50 a month. It's rough.
It's like joining Equinox.
Yeah. One thing I liked was the windshield wiper gag at the beginning of the movie. That was genuinely funny. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what happens is Godzilla roars, which shatters the windshield. And then they're escaping, and the wind is like buffeting their faces. And so Shinoda starts using the windshield wiper, and he's like, does this help?
See, that was the singular camp bit that they had, and then they just left him all.
Well, they had the guy getting hit in the head.
Yeah, but it was so, like, it was so poorly executed.
That's true. It's no Abbott and Costello.
I seen better.
Yeah. There are a lot of, like, weird one-off gags in this movie. Like the news editor trimming his nose hairs when the UFO shows up. And there's a guy on a train who spills my favorite Japanese cheese snacks. That bag hasn't changed in 20 years. I spotted it right away.
Yum.
Made me hungry for him. I'm really reaching for points on this one.
I know. Yeah, Sam.
Yeah. Okay, so we've acknowledged that the second best thing about this movie is that it has cheese snacks.
Yes.
No, yeah, you're right. There weren't a lot of good, funny bits. I can't really add anything to this.
Well, and again, it's because so much of it was set up in this just somber, serious tone that when you throw this little bit in, it just doesn't like make sense. It's like you're living in two different universes here. Doesn't work.
It's funny. That didn't really bother me, if I'm being honest. I kind of felt like it was going for like a Spielbergian kind of tone. Like, especially early. Again, I can't really defend, like, it goes so far off of coherence so fast as it goes, but, like, that's what I felt like it was going for. Like, it wasn't, like, deathly serious. This wasn't the anime Godzillas. This was, like,
No.
Like a really knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff Close Encounters, which like, can be funny and can be kind of serious. Like, I think I watched a different movie than you did, because those didn't bother. They didn't feel out of step. This didn't feel dour to me.
I guess they maybe didn't feel fully out of spec. They didn't live up to the humor I was hoping for, and the camp I was looking for when I turned it on to rent it, and it said camp front and center. So maybe that's why my expectations were too high for the camp jokes, and they didn't hit them. I was looking for farce and fun, and so maybe that's where that separation's coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, because the dub, like, wackiness level is like way up here on like level 9, and then the movie itself is like around a 5 in terms. It's like right in the middle, and so the dub in particular doesn't match up with the level of seriousness. But yeah, it's definitely not the most downbeat Godzilla movie, not by a long shot.
No.
Speaking of the UFO, what did the bottom of it look like? It was bothering me. I was like, this looks like a household product or a hygiene product.
I had that thought. Like, I kept thinking it was some kind of toilet seat thing. but I mean, the whole thing is shaped like a bicycle seat. Like the UFO itself is just it's just a bicycle seat. But yeah, whatever's on the bottom, I don't know exactly what that was. Like some kind of drain or something, or like a pool. Maybe it's like a floating pool filter. I had the same thought. I'm glad we were both thinking about that.
That did not cross my mind, but I'm aligned if you guys are feeling it.
That's how you know a movie really has your attention, is that you're like, what household product does this UFO remind me of?
The bottom of the UFO look like. We talked about how the reach for modern digital effects was a poor idea because a lot of the computer special effects in this look just awful. And I don't understand why they bothered powering through these unfamiliar methods when the practical stuff works. It's one of the better ones so far, honestly, especially because they made Godzilla's size a lot smaller again, so all the miniatures are in more detail. I just don't know why they didn't look at the first shot of the UFO flying and they were like, nope, and do the rest of it with the model. Yeah. It was like they were committed to saying we can do CGI too.
Yeah, that was my thought. I actually felt like I was about half and half on the effects in this, where the composited Godzilla sort of I guess you call it a split screen or a green screen kind of shot where you have people of regular scale running and you have Godzilla in the background, especially again first half hour had a lot of that. I thought that was good. That was some of the better Godzilla. Yeah. That Godzilla roaming through the city stuff was really good. And I went, this was a good choice. I'm glad they chose to do it this way. And then, certainly anytime CGI happens is wow. It's like some first Blade movie level, actually worse. It's really real bad. I have a whole rant about fake shadows that I really want to get into detail because some horrible fake shadows in this. Just all time terrible.
I know the one you're thinking of.
There's several throughout because basically here's the short of it. This is for everyone who wants to get really technical. It happens more than you think, even now, that you have actors or a live action shot where people were obviously acting against something that wasn't there, and they've actually either composited or done a CG thing in the scene that would cast a shadow on them. You have to paint in a shadow, and the best way to do it is always just to actually have forethought and block the light with something so that you get a real shadow, because a shadow is not just the lighting is the same on you but darker. Because that's all you can basically do by darkening a patch, drawing a mask and darkening, which is what the movie does every time, very questionably. So it's instead So basically that you it's not just make it darker. That's a shadow. This movie does that, and they don't even get particularly creative with the shape of the fake shadow. So it's there are scenes where it's just a big shadow of slightly darker comes across in a perfect line that comes across people, and it's crazy, man. That's not good. It's not how you do
it. Yeah.
I love
Thank you for that explanation. But I mean, just for an example, look at Close Encounters, where they, had a huge flag where they put that in front of the light, and you can tell the difference immediately.
Yes, or even the better versions of the wrong way to do it is the Sorting Hat in Harry Potter, where that's just them darkening his face. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look right. It's not actually a shadow. If you look at it, you go, oh, there's something wrong here. But at least they animated the shape of it to look like it's moving with the shape of his face. Kind of if you don't squint too hard at it, or if you squint, it looks kind of fine.
when you're trying to bust out a cinema in under a year, these are the kind of details you got to cut out. Those shadows are the first thing to go.
True. Very true. They had to stick it to TriStar, man.
Now I'm a little worried that I'm never going to be able to watch a movie normal ever again without thinking about the shadows in the film. Little screwed.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Why? Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's good.
Funny. Up until you said that just now, I thought the Sorting Hat was like an animatronic, and he really did put it on his head. Then again, I haven't seen that movie in like 10 years.
It may not always be CG, but you definitely there are definitely shots. Only because I watched it fairly recently over Thanksgiving.
Well, Sam, I got to try on the real Sorting Hat at the Warner Brothers lot, so that was very real to me, okay? I don't know what you're talking about, a fake hat.
The Sorting Hat is real, man. So there are a lot of purposely goofy dub lines in this. Probably the most infamous and strange one is, "Those missiles will go through him like crap through a goose."
Yeah.
And I have never heard that simile in my life outside of this movie.
Wait, you mean that wasn't in the original movie?
Nope.
Wow. Now I'm feeling more validated about my camp to serious comment earlier.
But for real, have you guys ever heard that outside of this movie? Something through like crap through a goose.
No, I grew up in the suburb of Chicago. We didn't have that many isms that we were saying, you know?
That's right up there with banana oil as like weird, obscure slang in a Godzilla movie.
Well, but banana oil, I can almost let it slide just on like, it sounds like it could have been a 20s or 30s expression that's just like so outdated we've never heard of it. But like no one was saying like crap through a goose at any point.
Michael Schlesinger was.
Yeah, he keeps saying it when we're gonna finish this movie. It's gonna be so easy. It'll be like crap through a goose, and then like he walks away. Guys, and they're like, should we tell him? Should we tell him that no one says that?
Listen. Like shit through a goose on freedictionary.com is coming up. Okay. We thought we'd have a shot at winning the tournament, but we got tossed out in the first round like shit through a goose. All right, I'm going to use this phrase now.
It's teaching you things.
All right, well, apologies to Michael Schlesinger, I guess. Apparently everyone says that.
Yeah, I got to wonder how popular that is. Sorry for skipping around, but I have no good transitions for this episode. Let's talk about Orga. People give Orga flack for looking lumpy and dumb, but in context I like him. He doesn't get a lot of cool powers, but I'm into the just swollen mutant grotesquerie he's got going on, and plus that whole mouth web thing is so weird and creepy. No,
that's great. I will defend Orga overall. I like that he's halfway between that, like his head is kind of the shape of the UFO. You know, he's halfway between that CGI fucking thing we saw that looked horrible.
That was awful. That middle ground.
Yeah, but I liked him. And yes, him unhinging his jaw like a anaconda and trying to eat Godzilla is like a top 5 image of the series for me. Like, that's great and cool and gross and fun.
It's so disturbing.
It's really hard. It's hard to get mad. Like, in the end, I can't really get that mad at this movie because it had that.
I thought he was like the best part of the movie, and I was just wondering what the fuck we were doing waiting until an hour and 20 minutes in to bring him to the screen. That was the biggest fault with the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, it's easily the best part of the movie is the fight with Orga. And yeah, I love the idea. It's very The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, I like when he had that green shit on him when he was trying to ingest it. And like the middle version that, again, what is it? Not an eel. What are those things called?
you mean like the octopus looking one? The Millennium?
Yeah, a stingray. That thing looked like it belonged in Lilo and Stitch or some water-themed Disney movie. But once it got to the final form, I was really here for it because I also thought Godzilla looked really good in this movie. Extra spiky, perfectly meaty, not too big of thighs, just right. And so the two of them fighting, I was there for it.
Yeah.
You want him perfectly meaty, extra spicy.
That's how I order my Godzilla every time.
It's a KFC commercial, yes. And the shell of him at the end falling to the ground in the red. Again, like I said, there were a few shots in the movie that I liked. That was one of like 3 of them. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, you got a nice, brutal death.
Yeah. Crispy, again.
It precedes Godzilla doing the same thing to the Muto in the modern American movie.
You know that the fan community refers to that as the kiss of death. Which is Godzilla breathing through the back of the throat of another monster. Mm-hmm. And as a like little fan homage, when we were doing the Godzilla vs. Kong opening, we like in the official like scientist readout when it's going through all the different monsters they've killed. Mm-hmm. We have the Muto and it says cause of death, kiss of death, or
oh cool,
cause kiss of death, something like that. I know that some fans were like pretty pumped. They're like, "Whoa, it's canon now." The filmmakers wanted that. That wasn't like our idea. The filmmakers were like, we should make it canon.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I'm about to ruin it. You know what they call this movie? The one at the end of this movie?
What?
If my stepson cream pies me, I clean him off with a blowjob.
God,
get him hard.
no.
All right,
Stick it in me
get him off
again
this
until his
podcast.
balls are empty. Endless fake cest orga.
Guys, all right.
Of
Well,
death.
it was fun. Ryan has been replaced. Not for his J.K. Rowling comments, but for this. And yeah, that was unpleasant. Joanna, do you have anything nice to say?
Sam was so proud to share that moment. And Ryan killed it. Nope, no words on my end.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I really like how Godzilla looks. I like this design. It's based on my favorite, which is the King Kong vs. Godzilla one. It has a very similar body and head shape. I'm iffy on the change from blue to red / orange with the atomic ray, but a later movie has basically this design but back to the blue. So that's like my perfect version, but I like everything else about this. I like that he's green. Godzilla has always been green in my head. So making him actually green for the first time is a good touch.
He hasn't been green before this?
Nope. It's funny, your mind tricks you into seeing it.
I thought he was a very dark green a lot of times.
Yeah.
No, this is like a Berenstain Bears thing where we always just thought it was green.
Yeah.
I actually do understand, because as a child, it like blew my mind when I saw in a book like Godzilla is gray. And then I looked close and I was like, nope, they're right. The thing is, though, is that some of the old movies, like especially when they were on VHS, have yellowed. So he would look green because of the yellowish tint. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is the first time Godzilla is actually painted green in a Godzilla movie.
And he looked
I'm
good.
glad we were here to witness such a historic moment. I want to shout out for the ambition. I want to shout out the shot where he's coming out of the ocean. It's like a helicopter shot. We're tracking like away from the ocean, and he gets up and he starts walking on the beach, because it's the first time where like, that's a real helicopter shot, and then they filmed him on like a blue screen and composited him in as like a giant thing. And I appreciate the ambition, and it almost works. And then like right at the end of the shot, it starts to really break, and you see that like his feet are sliding around the ground like no one's business. But I was still like that's the first time I've seen a shot like that in one of these movies, and I was I think it's maybe only 2 minutes before the really horrible full CGI shot of him swimming around in the ocean, which was that maybe less successful.
Yeah. The moving mats, as they call it, has always been a challenge, and it costs money to do it right. So they don't have a lot of them in Godzilla movies. So I too appreciated that they went for it, but you're right, it does not end up looking that good.
Probably your best bet. Again, let's get technical here. Their best bet, I think, would be to do something where you build a model that's still really big, like a really big model, but not full, not a full beach or a full city, but a big one. And then you do a motion control rig and you track backwards through, the exact move you want to do, and then do it again at scale with the actor walking on a blue screen. That way you can actually get him exactly to line up. But otherwise, you have this, and he's just wobbling around, just his feet clipping through the bottom of the sand,
It was a good attempt. An attempt was made. Are there any other thoughts on the film, the cinema, from you two?
I liked the shot of him through the tunnel in the beginning, kind of straightforward.
Tunnel was good.
And I thought he looked really good in that. And then I liked when they were flying through those little underground volcanoes that were kind of like sparkling and puffing up. I thought that was a very pretty scene, and I wish that some of that kind of mystical element, etc., could have carried through more of the film. But I just thought it looked cool, and then it got, kind of more standard. The building blowing up looked good as well.
I agree. I forgot about that underwater trench scene. Is actually really great, and it made me like, I wish there was like a Godzilla deep sea trench battle in one of these movies.
Exactly. But I think in that movie I made that was a Godzilla James Bond crossover, there was an underwater something, and Ben so that's the vibe I'm going to bring to my film when I make it in 2025. So I was grateful to see it.
Excellent.
You don't need to run over Ben Stiller like that. You underwater trench battle with Ben Stiller.
Was he involved? I forget if his character was involved in the...
I think he was the lead. I think he was my Matthew Broderick. I don't remember.
He was.
I thought he was your Q.
You said he was the inventor. Yeah, he was Q, but he was also the toy inventor who was friends with the cheerleader.
Joanna, that was so good.
I thought he was the dad. I'm confused. Either way, he's in the movie.
You know what? Everybody go back and listen to our James Bond versus Godzilla episode.
Do you hear that? And I want to be in Severance. Thank you so much.
The mini-sode so good, I promoted it to full episode. Anyway, go on.
I want to shout out, I had a lot of notes of scenes that I thought were done well versus less well.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff with the people in the underwater submarine probe thing, where it's those three guys in that kind of circular thing and the wide angle lens filming them was really good. And I was oh, this is really cool. And then and for effective, we always criticize these movies when they do characters with just people, no monster stuff whatsoever, just people talking in a place as being, I find them to be really unimaginative and just oh yeah, whatever. There's people just, they're in a fucking restaurant or something. Who cares? That's always what they feel like. This I really liked. And then there was one at a fucking restaurant or whatever that was way less good right after it. And I was all right, have we learned nothing? Or that random standoff on the bridge with villain guy and other guy where it's we're just oh yeah, I guess we're just standing on a bridge. Okay.
They're always just in suits sitting at a circle table. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the submarine, pretty good. Good. Shout out. Nicely done. And then the only other thing I wrote down was that I got a really strong visceral clenching reaction to when our main guy barehanded slid down the metal cables of the elevator shaft.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a great way to have no more hand skin ever for the rest of your life.
I was thinking that. I was he is so fucked.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if the rope was going from his weight, a nice pulley system, but I don't think that's what was happening.
No, just metal cable.
You could have just pulled your sleeves. I don't know, but yeah, that's painful.
Lon Chaney slid down just a 20-foot rope, and the old silent Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a fiber rope, not a metal rope. And he had scars on his palms for the rest of his life from that.
Wait, there's a silent Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yes. The first version, I think. The first Universal monster movie? Question mark.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
Yes.
Cool. Anyways, carry on.
With
everyone,
the way that this movie...
Don't slide down a rope without gloves on, if you can help it.
If you slide down a rope, you're gonna get scars. If you slide down a metal, like, industrial cable like that, like, you may not have hands. Like, let's be real, those might be gone.
I want to. Well, Sam, if you have any more scene shout-outs, I've got one more.
I do have a couple, but you should go.
Okay, I wanted to give a shout out to the smoothest cigarette grab in cinema history. At the end, when the bad guy takes out that pack and then takes it on his lip and lights it right before Godzilla gets there, that was so smooth. And actor to actor, I just love... He had to have practiced that at home in front of a mirror like that. There's no fucking way that dude just showed up on set and pulled that. So I just love imagining him 11 p.m. You know, he has to be on set 5 a.m. next day for hair and makeup. And he's just in front of his mirror, maybe with his girlfriend, just, you know, hey, babe, how's this look? I go, okay, 1, 2, 3. And you can almost, if you look closely, see his eyes processing doing it. Like, there's a tiny bit of effort. But it's executed flawlessly, so I wanted to give him the props there.
He deserves it.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and I also I wanted to mention that yes, that was cool. That whole scene made no fucking sense.
No sense at all.
Like, I'm glad that he had that great moment with the cigarette, because otherwise we had nothing there.
Nothing.
That was a big nothing. That was one of mine, actually. But the other thing was, I wrote down that there was some kind of quote. I wish I wrote down exactly what the quote was, but I think it was our reporter woman who says something to the effect of, this is after, I'm sorry, what was the big monster's name? The alien monster.
Orga.
After Orga is dead, she says, it's ironic.
Yes.
They wanted, Yep, Joanna's reacting here.
No, it's
it's
not.
ironic. They this is in the dub at least. All they wanted was to gain Godzilla's cell, whatever, blah 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 blah, to be able to live. But instead, Godzilla killed them. That's not fully irony. Actually, I may have even made it more ironic than what she said. It was something like I may have just accidentally fixed the line for her. Not irony. That's the important part.
It's not ironic, and it proved she's an imbecile. No.
Yeah.
It's not even Alanis Morissette ironic.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is dramatic irony. It actually follows quite logically if you think about it.
It made no sense. Yeah.
At the end, she has a line where she says, "It's actually, I have a confession to make. I have never really understood irony or plasma. If anyone could explain both of those concepts to me, I'm otherwise very smart."
Oh my god.
That's hilarious. Okay. Let's move on to the judgment.
Dun, dun, dun. Sam's putting this one in heaven, baby. Just kidding.
So, as Godzillavangelists, it is our holy duty to assign each movie its place in Godzilla heaven, hell, or purgatory. With heaven being the best, hell being the worst, purgatory being stuck in the middle, of course. Joanna, start us off.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in hell because for me, for purgatory, you kind of have to be like, oh yeah, I could watch this again, maybe, sure. And this one, none of the smaller parts of it that worked came together in any kind of way, I think, to even warrant purgatory. And it's a little bit of a bummer because I did really like Orga and I thought that Godzilla looked great. But again, the dude showed up in the last 20 minutes of the movie. So, yeah. It's going to be a hell for me. And 1998 for the win.
Honestly, this movie does make me feel more on 1998's side for its pettiness. But anyway, I'll go, because I feel like I'm sort of in the middle between you and Sam. There are a lot of things about this that are very interesting, likable things I like. exploring the unique things about Godzilla and his powers. I like that they take the start of the idea they had in Biollante and develop it out and are like, finally give an official explanation for why missiles don't hurt Godzilla. It's like, it's because he regenerates so fast. I'm like, that's such a cool idea.
It's because this goose can't be pierced by shit.
This goose is too full of crap. I like the idea of Orga, an alien organism. Basically, Godzilla versus the Thing, an alien organism trying to duplicate Godzilla to take what's strong and healthy about him and become him is cool. But it's just... It comes off as dull, and the human story, as we've said, is one of the weakest ones yet. And the flow feels off. The pacing, it's very stop and start. I guess none of these things are unique problems to a good handful of Godzilla movies, but there's nothing that really grabs me, or not nothing. There's hardly anything that grabs me outside of like the big set piece moments, like the Godzilla battle at the end or the introduction where they come up right to him in the tunnel. There are moments, but it's like all the small pieces fall apart, and I just found myself bored. I feel like if I had watched the Japanese version, it might have snuck up to purgatory, low purgatory, but I didn't. And so I narrowly got to put it in hell just because I couldn't. I was not on board. I know this is one of my more vague reviews, but hopefully from what we've said throughout the episode, you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Welcome to hell, Ryan. No, seriously, I mean, they have a, quote, villain of an alien that is just like aliens that's just a silent rock for over half the film. Like, I'm used to fucking Godzilla aliens showing up in shiny-ass outfits and having cool tricks up their sleeve, keeping things interesting.
This is definitely one of their least fun aliens.
The least fun alien, for sure.
All right, Sam.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go purgatory. I'm probably like at the end, if we're gonna follow through with our current plan of eventually deeming all these hell or heaven, all the purgatories, putting them in one or the other. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe it is a hell, but I'm probably slightly biased because I really, really didn't like Destroya. Like, I really didn't. Like, this was so much better to me. Like, but I mean, almost by like virtue of having anything that I liked in it, it was better. and like, obviously, Space Godzilla, like, we had fun, like, kind of defending it, but like, it was terrible. So we're really, maybe that is partially what's causing me to be a little more optimistic on this one. But genuinely, there were some things I liked in it. And so I guess it's just purgatory. Let's kick it down the road. But I might end up on the same side as you. I don't know. I don't really care. Like, let's be real. Like, why am I hitching my wagon at this movie? Like, who cares? It's purgatory. Whatever.
What is that, Sam? You 12 out of 10 times of the last movies we've watched have given higher ratings than Ryan. It's very odd to me. Still, I don't know when the shift happened. What Ryan is whispering in your ear when I'm not looking, but
you know what? I appreciate it that you guys are developing your own opinions on Godzilla. It's like the second stage of your transformation. First, you got used to what they were, and now you're starting to like develop your own distinct threads of like what will make them enjoyable. And that's what becoming a fan is about.
Sam and I are now two separate individuals on this pod officially, so it's time to vote for your favorite. Okay.
We're bringing it back.
Bring it back.
Well, fortunately for all of us, I can say that this is probably the worst one in this series. I think the other 6 are more fun and interesting, and one of them is in my top 5, so I'm excited to get to that. But that is Godzilla 2000.
Dun-dun-dun. Y2K, baby.
We got 2 very nice long emails recently, so I'm going to read one this time and one next time. and I might skip over a bit from both, but they're both very kind, well-written emails. So this will be on the long side, so settle in. This one is from George W., titled Kaiju Love Note. I've never really been into podcasts, but in my recent years, I've gotten back into Godzilla. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the green guy, but I never had any friends around who liked him as much as me. Ryan's story of how he fell in love with Godzilla really resonated with me. But even when I was a kid, I felt that movies were silly kid stuff. And when I went to high school, I hid away my Godzilla interest, lest I be mocked for liking campy monster movies. Then I went to college and came across an article on JSTOR, as one does, that treated allegorical implications of the original film. It was a real revelation for me. Then I went to grad school and ended up writing a dissertation on the giants of Greek mythology, and I think it was my love of Godzilla subconsciously pushing me in this direction. Now I'm a college professor who gets to teach classes and do research on this stuff. I'm currently teaching a course on ancient monsters. My love for Godzilla and other kaiju movies has been reawakened. I'm now mixing business and pleasure as I explore research projects about the intersections between ancient monsters and kaiju films. I've also been going back and watching a lot of the old movies I watched as a kid and catching up on the ones that I never saw. It's been a blast. As mentioned, I've never been into podcasts, but I thought I would look for some on Godzilla just to get commentary as I go through all these films for my project. I tried a few other Godzilla podcasts and they were way too bro-y for me. I was thinking, oof, maybe the combination of Godzilla fandom and the podcast world was a recipe for disaster. But eventually I came across yours, and it was a breath of fresh air. I'm listening all the time now, and I like how you take these movies somewhat seriously while still having fun with the campy aspects of them. I also appreciate how you don't ignore difficult topics like race and gender. Thank you so much. It's been enriching and fun to listen to your podcast.
Aw, that really warmed my heart. That was such a lovely note. And also, like, how fucking cool that's their job now.
Yeah.
Like, bringing it all full circle.
I was like, wow, this is maybe the best email I've ever got.
It's...
I know.
Yeah. No, George, all I can say is, thanks, bro. Yeah. Super nice of you.
And those other podcasts can suck it.
Yeah.
But seriously, that was the sweetest note I've ever received.
Yeah.
And come see our live show and bring your students.
That's right.
Thank you, George. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, George. It was a great to read that, and yeah, I hope we continue to provide good listening to you and everyone else.
If George has any kaiju reading or anything, he should share that as well. If there's anything fun he's teaching in his classes, so we can share it with people.
Absolutely. And if you would like to have more people listen to us, please share us with your friends, family, people who like weird movies, strange movies, monster movies. They might be surprised too at how much they can enjoy Godzilla. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast provider or YouTube. Leave a YouTube comment. Follow our social media. I'm just throwing more shit on the pile. Am I missing anything, you guys?
TikTok, Ryan, or TikTok. God.
I really should start it one of these days.
Yeah, if you want to see videos of Ryan in a Godzilla mask doing the Bus It challenge, then head on over to TikTok.
If you would genuinely follow us on TikTok, let us know. But in the meantime, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, but nobody's on Facebook anymore. Except for those two guys. I like those two guys who keep liking our posts on Facebook.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Shout
much.
out to those two guys.
Thank you so much, Gary and Aaron.
Yes.
We'll keep posting there just for you. Next episode, I'm not sure what it's going to be. I think we're doing a double feature of the Pacific Rim movies, though.
Yes,
so,
I knew it.
If that's not next time, we will do it. So keep your ears open for it. What are you going to say, Sam?
I'll tell you off the podcast, okay. But I may be able to get some extra insight on Pacific Rim 2.
Yes, I was hoping for that. But there's your little teaser, friends. So in the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.
Bye.
Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, is brought to you by me, Ryan Sargent, and my friends Joanna Brodecki and Sam Schlenker.
This episode was edited by Brogan Malloy.
All our incredible music is composed by Robert Mai, and our wonderful artwork is drawn by Cassidy Stone. Special thanks to our families, friends, and the wonderful artists who made the movies we talked about today. Godzillavangelists is a satirical, critical work not affiliated or endorsed by Toho, Legendary Pictures, or anyone behind the Godzilla series. Visit our website at godzillavangelists.com. We're also on Twitter at GodzillaCast and Instagram at GodzillaVangelists. If you prefer to listen to us online, we have a YouTube channel, and the latest episode is always on SoundCloud too. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you join us next time. In the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.